Hello, everybody. So, I mean, if you want to kiss before bang bang, I mean, you talk to Diana. If you want to bang bang before kiss, then you talk to me. It's as you want. Um, just to make it really short, I hate PowerPoints, so you won't see anything on the screen. I've got my notebook to make sure that I don't forget anything in my speech, but I just to use the opportunity that WeShare gave me today, and I thank them for that. I love this organization. There's a lot of pretty girls. There's a lot of nice, smart guys. They're growing really, really fast, and it's really, really good and nice to work with them. Um, just like to take the opportunity today to try to find out what we have behind those platforms of crowdfunding, because we all know about the volume right now. For my part, I mean, I'm the CEO of KissKissBankBank and Hello Merci. We've got two platforms of crowdfunding, one which is based on reward-based system and the other one on peer-to-peer lending. And just to begin, I just want to ask you a few questions to make sure, compared to last year, if the market is getting, let's say, more famous, who has already given or lended or invested in one of the projects somewhere in the world in one of the platforms in the world? Raise your hand. So it's more or less like 20%, which is a bit more than last year. Who has already launched a project on the platform of that kind? So you see, it's only 4 people. So we come down to, let's say, 5% or 4% of the room. And who is planning to launch a project soon on one of those platforms? Which is more or less the same. So you see, out of maybe 200 people, we are only 4 or 5 people in the room who wants to use those kind of platforms. It just shows the progress we need to make, again, more and more to make sure that this market is growing and growing, and finally is a solution for a lot of people, and not only a few of ours who understand exactly how it works right now. So just before to see exactly what is my point today, would like to come back a little bit on the history of crowdfunding. As you know, 5 years, as you know, you don't know, 5 years ago, the word crowdfunding didn't exist. And when we start to write about KissKissBankBank, when we quit our job like 6 years ago, the word really didn't exist. And even my mother or brother didn't understand exactly where we want to go. 5 or 6 years later, the word exists, the market exists. We raised more than $5 billion last year on our platforms. It will be more than 10, I think, this year. And the Forbes magazine thinks that this market will be more than 1,000 billions of dollars in 2020, which means that we really came out from an utopia to a reality. And the thing is that behind this reality of numbers, what do we have exactly? I mean, how does it work? And what is the meaning of those platforms? The thing is, it's quite easy. Is for the first time, we are only counting of ourselves to finance what we dreamed about, what we want to listen as musicians, what we want to watch as movies. And for the first time, we are totally independent of the, let's say, normal or traditional industries. And this word, in English, is it's quite famous right now by the sociological specialists. It's called empowerment. And empowerment is the proof that when we give the opportunity to people to be linked one by one on peer-to-peer system, then suddenly we quit our relationship with the basic, heavy, individualist pyramid that we are living in since ages. And which is a good news, of course, because it tastes like a kind of huge freedom. And the first word, which is really, really important behind the scene and behind those projects in our platforms, it's this typically word, which is freedom. Behind this, when you are linked to each other, the first driver to fund a project in one of our platforms is what we call empathy. Why? Because when you give to a project, more of the time, everybody thinks the same thing, which is, I'm funding your project because maybe tomorrow you will be able to find my own project. And this specific term, which is empathy, is a huge driver, which is not a new word in the humanity, of course, but it's a huge driver, which is really building the link between people, and which is let's say the strong link and the strong word behind crowdfunding platforms and the big motivations behind those. And the most important to find out behind those platforms is that when those projects are funded by each others, you are plenty of those projects who never change humanity. I mean, those projects that only have sense or logic from the guy which is carrying the project. You know how it works. I mean, those projects are funded, first of all, by the first circle of your community, which is friends and family. If your project is good enough, then you will reach a second circle of people, which is linked to your community, thanks to the social networks. And if it's really, let's say, mainstream, then you will reach a third circle, which maybe make you famous, and maybe at that time, this project will have an impact on humanity. But if you take those 2 million of projects which have been funded on our platform since the beginning, of course, you've got only a small, really small percentage of this project will get really an impact on humanity. So, I mean, if it's that small, I mean, what's really the meaning of it? And the meaning of it is much more important than what we think. It's like behind those amateurs or behind of those guys which are carrying right now, let's say, the independent creativity, you've got individually your own creativity at the center. Meaning that for the first time, you can unleash your creativity thanks to others. You don't need to go to a bank, you don't need to go to a specialist, you don't need to go to a professional guichet who will decide if you will get your money or not. I mean, you only need to take out this project of your head, to put it on the platform, and to see if your community will react positively, if the community of the community will do it also, and maybe get the chance to make your product or your idea becoming mainstream. And if you think deeply of this phenomenon will have a huge impact everywhere. And why? Today, to be creative and to live of your creativity is dedicated to the people who are mostly on the rich part of the world, who did high schools and got a chance to get a network at the end of the day to launch this creativity and to fund it. So it means that the creativity today is only in the hand of maybe 1% of 2% of the population in the world, which means that the elite which are ruling the world since ages keep on ruling the world because this creativity is only exchanging in this kind of world. Today with those platforms, everybody on the world, but everybody in the world can launch this project and his own project. And when you launch your project and when you are when you make sure that this project get born thanks to the crowd, you are creating something which is really special. That's what we call self-confidence. As soon as everybody is free and able to launch his own creativity, then you've got a real huge spirit of self-confidence, which is shared one by one and which goes viral on the web. And this, your own self-confidence is going to the one who is helping you to fund your project, and then it's going and spreading everywhere in the world. So you are just seeding something which doesn't exist today on the world, which is the capacity to everyone to get a chance to use his own creativity and self-confidence to go until the end of this dream. And this is a major item, of course, because that's exactly the opposite feeling of the world we're living right now. And when you've got this self-confidence, when this self-confidence grows and spread really fast in the world, you come to create a new kind of energy that we can call, I don't know if you say that in English, by the way, but let's say positivism. Okay, so instead of being hidden behind the system where we're living right now, then you go in front of the system, you assume yourself as a creator, even if your project, once again, doesn't have an impact on the humanity, but this own creativity and this own positivism will be, once again, spread all over the world and will get a strong impact on the world. And at the end of the day, when you've got this positivism everywhere, you're creating something which is still more powerful, which is optimism. If everybody in the world believes that he can go until the end of his own dreams and his own creativity, then this positivism, which is the perfect cure against the morosity where we're living right now, which is the, let's say, the big word, the big symbol of our society and humanity right now, then you are turning around the major feeling that we are all living in right now. And then from a sudden, from small project everywhere in the world, which doesn't have any impact on the humanity, when you put them on top of them on each other, and then you make sure that the feeling behind it of self-confidence, positivism, and optimism is growing everywhere, then finally, this system will definitively have an impact and strong impact on the humanity. And to be realistic, when we create those platforms 5 years ago, we didn't know a clue about this feeling and about this impact we'll have on humanity. We only did it because we wanted to launch a tool to make sure that independent musicians or cinema makers can go until the end of the project. But really, this strong impact, it's only clear right now since only maybe 6 months and 1 year for me and for us, because those millions of projects are really changing one top of the other the feeling that we can have about our humanity and the way we can live in it and the way we can change it. So once again, thanks to crowdfunding, which is most of the time called right now by the journalists the bank of the Schengen economy, is the perfect place for you, is the perfect place for everybody to believe in himself and to spread this positivism and this optimism. So once again, believe in yourself, believe in your project, and unleash your creativity. Thank you. Have a good day.